Okay, another direct criticism I get for this is that, well, maybe some things can come from nothing. You go on television, you go on the internet, you always see like some scientist somewhere saying, well, this came from nothing and nothing caused this. And, you know, if you see two people in an argument like this, it's, you're like, well, the nothing was caused something, and the nothing was caused by something else, and what caused the nothing was it nothing, and it turns into an Abbott Costello routine where it's like it's a green house, but it's white, and it's like, well, is it a white house or it's a green? It's a green white house, and what's really going on here is a language problem. The problem is that the original Webster definition of nothing isn't the word that they're using anymore. The original Webster definition of nothing is that which has no consequence. And they start talking about, well, something that has a consequence, therefore it can't be nothing. And if you listen to them long enough, they'll say, well, this new nothing has a weight. This new nothing is made up of particles, and it caused this, it caused that. It's a contemporary job-specific definition of the word nothing. And it has to be like that. You can't literally say something comes from nothing. You can't use the Webster definition of the word. And I think a good example of that is the Fermi paradox, where the Fermi paradox is an idea that, well, we haven't discovered aliens, therefore they must not be there, so let's stop looking for them. And then the criticism of that is like, well, if you stop looking for them, it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, and people aren't going to look for them and we'll never find them. And if we start taking that attitude to every part of science, where we say, something came from the Webster definition of nothing, so therefore there's nothing else to look for, we're going to get a society where the idea of finding new answers to everything just isn't going to work anymore. We're not going to be looking for answers, and a science isn't going to grow anymore. And so we had to understand that this new job-specific meaning of the word nothing, it's not the Webster definition of nothing. It's a placeholder. It means something very different. Exotic matter, exotic energy, a new kind of space-time that we're not really sure about, or just, like in an algebra problem where it's like the variable, you have a letter where you don't really know exactly what it is. And a lot of this goes into it is very reminiscent of Moses Mendelssohn, who said a lot of the disagreements in philosophy are really just rooted in language, how we use language. And another thing I'd like to add is that if you're going to recreate an existence, that we have a Big Bang and this is the only universe there is, and there was nothing before the Big Bang, then you get into the problem with the argument, well, the universe is just so complex that there had to have been a God to make everything work out okay, because everything is just too perfect. I think if you look at the universe, the way it's set up, and it's set up, it's just perfectly designed to create everything we have. There's only two possibilities. Either it was created by an intelligent God, or it is part of an infinitely long process that just eventually worked out. And if you agree with the part that it's part of an infinitely long process that eventually worked out, then you're run into my argument. Okay, another thing people talk about, or people ask me, is they'll say, okay, well, what if I agree with you up to this point, but what about intelligence? Would this God be intelligent? And what that's kind of a hard question to answer. Intelligence, and because it's what exactly is intelligence? Um, I think one explanation for intelligence is it's really just another layer of complexity where you have someone has an imagination and they have an idea, um, maybe randomly, and just tests that idea in their imagination, and if it works right in their imagination, and then they try it in real life. And so what this really is it's pretty much like natural selection and random mutation, except it's happening with ideas instead of with DNA. And so it's the same basic principle, it's just an extra layer to it. So it's just an extra layer of complexity. And then some people ask, well, what about does it have a free will? I mean, this can prove uh, what you would call the terminalist sort of mind, but does this prove that this God would have a free will? And to me, that's such a big issue in of itself. It's almost like an entire different philosophical question, because in an ancient one, do humans even really have free will? And what I'll say is, if you're an atheist and you don't think humans have free will, well, you'll have to admit that humans are alive and intelligent, even if they don't have free will. So if this God doesn't have free will, then that's not a reason to say that it's not alive and it's not intelligent. And if you're an atheist and you do believe in free will, I'll say, look, you might know that you have free will, but this free will is such big, a big concept that it's practically impossible for you to prove that other people have free will, let alone anything else. So this is such a big concept and such a nebulous concept that we really can't test for, that I don't think, at least at this time, it should be considered for whether or not God exists, or whether or not God is intelligent or alive or anything like that.